I now call the May 13, 2014 work session of the Riverton City Council to order at 7 p.m. Would Councilmember Christensen lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Would the city clerk please conduct the roll call?
Yes, Your Honor. Councilmember Richgard.
Here.
Councilmember Martin Cannon.
Here.
Councilmember Mary Ellen Christensen.
Present.
Councilman Jonathan Fabian.
Here.
Councilman Kyle Larson.
Here.
Mayor Ron Wartness.
And I am present. The chair would entertain a motion to excuse Councilmember Smith from tonight's meeting.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to excuse Councilman Smith.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. I declare that we have a quorum this evening. Before I'm going to ask for the approval of the agenda, I just have a couple comments I'd like to make. In as much as we're televising our council meetings, it's an opportunity to get information out to the community as well as, this afternoon, Mr. Weaver, Councilman Cannon and Councilman Guard and I attended a town hall meeting that was up at Central Wyoming College regarding a merit system for alcohol dealers in Riverton, and it was pretty darn well attended. I was impressed with the numbers that were there. We had a liquor dealer member from Casper that came up. Mike Reed, I believe was his name, and he owns a lounge and bar in Casper, as well as a police officer from Casper, Lieutenant Steve Friel, was there giving us information. This was put on by Kelly Reese and the Community Prevention organization here in town. And it was an opportunity to talk about issues regarding alcohol in the community, and I felt it was very valuable and very worthwhile, and I really appreciate them putting that together, and for the liquor dealers in Riverton to be willing to come together and talk about issues that we all have in common. The other issue that I'd like to bring up is in response to a letter to the editor that was in the paper. It's been May the 2nd, I guess, and it was entitled "Wake Up and Give Appearance of Riverton Some More Thought," and it's suggesting that the city of Riverton isn't doing all that it can to help with the beautification of Riverton. And I'd just like to go on record that I agree with this individual 100%, that we need to be doing more. We do have a beautiful community, and he kind of takes me to task for suggesting that we do have a beautiful community when this time of year it looks pretty shabby. I agree, this is not a real pretty time of the year, but it's getting prettier as things green up. But there are a lot of things that we can do in our community, and I agree with him that if the city has properties that we need to take better care of, then I'm 100% supportive of that. If there are private properties, then the citizens need to try to take better care of their property. And I think if the private citizens were to take care of their property a little better, it would solve about 90% of the city's problems from our perspective. So I was just taking a little bit of umbrage with that letter to the paper. And I know in the time that I've been mayor, I've tried to do everything I can to beautify Riverton, to clean up our alleys, to pass the 1% so that we could get new streets. And it's just critical for our community that it be as nice looking as possible. So at any rate, that one was a point that I meant to bring up at the last council meeting, but I failed to do so. So at any rate, at this time, I would entertain a motion for the approval of the agenda.
Your Honor, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. At this time, we have contracts for services, and how did you envision handling that, Mr. Weaver? Did you just want to have them come up in the order that you have them, and we just?
Yeah, Your Honor, I'd like to go through my staff report, and then we can go
Okay,
through the order that's on the agenda.
okay, sounds great.
So, Your Honor, we're here to talk about contract for services. We currently have 9 agencies that provide services for the city of Riverton. As we started the budgeting process this year, we reviewed revenue projections and realized the money would be really tight this year, particularly in the sales tax avenue. We're down quite a bit. We've been down this past year about 10%. So in order to make our budget balance, and we've been working at it for about a month now, trying to make it balance, we're proposing to cut all the contract for services by 15%. The reason we just did a 15% across the board is we don't want to be in the position of saying that one is better than the other. Just to be consistent and fair to everybody, is it's just take a 15% off of all of them. Last year, the city gave $401,020 in contract for services. Staff is proposing $340,867 for the next fiscal year, starting July 1st, 2014. If the council would like to change that, that's up to you. If you think that there's other causes that are more worthy than others, and you can make that determination in changing percentages around. A letter was sent to each organization on April 24th informing them they needed to fill out the official request for funds and return it to the city no later than Wednesday, May 7th. They were encouraged to attend the council work session, which is tonight, to speak regarding their submitted request. As of May 8th, we had received 7 of the funding request applications which are attached, and then we got another one, I think, a day or so later. On May 8th, a letter was sent to each of the organizations reminding them to attend the council work session and that it's staff's recommendation to reduce funding by 15% from what they were given last year. We also informed them that they would be given about 10 minutes to speak, since we do have about 9 of them. That's an hour and a half if they got 9 of them. Staff has made some follow-up phone calls to the organizations that did not submit a funding request, but have not heard from them as the time of the staff report. Obviously, there's varying degrees of what the council can do. Propose a different percent to a decrease, or vary the decreases between the different organizations. So, in ways of the contract for services that we do have, and what we're being proposed is youth services. Last year got $45,000. We're proposing $38,250. A volunteer fireman was at $10,000 last year. Proposed $8,500. Volunteers of America $112,500. Proposed $95,625. Good Samaritan $6,000. Proposed $5,100. Pause last year $50,000. Proposed $42,500. Children's Advocacy Project $3,500 last year, $2,975 for this year. Chamber of Commerce $24,020 and proposed $20,417. Injury Prevention Resources $5,000 last year, proposed $4,250. And then CWC-R Recreation $145,000 last year, proposed $123,250. And I believe in all the submittals that we had, I think we had one that actually was submitting at a lower cost, and that was the Chamber of Commerce. All the other ones, I think, had at least what they were getting last year, and some of them had some proposed increases. So staff's recommendation is to reduce services by 15% across the board.
Okay, thank you. Just so that everyone recalls, this is a work session this evening, so we won't be voting on or taking action on this recommendation by the council or by the staff. I would like to reiterate what Mr. Weaver has said, that this is probably one of the more difficult things that we have to look at, because all of these organizations and services that are provided to the community are essential to our community. And, just as an example, the volunteer firemen, it's my understanding that if we were to go out and hire a fire department of the quality that we have, it would cost us literally millions of dollars. and we're talking about cutting them back from 10,000 to 8,500. And this is such an invaluable thing to our community that it seems like a small thing. So and yet we almost get ourselves into a position that seems like of pitting one against the other. And each of you are here representing your organizations, and to your organization, you're the most important and should be receiving funding, and to heck with the other guy. And the council can't take that position. And so the recommendation of the staff is to just let everybody take a little bit of a bite and try to get through this difficult time that we have right now. And you know, I know the staff has been working on the budget for quite a while now, and have put a lot of blood and sweat into it. It's not going to be long before the council gets to see what their recommendations are and whatnot, and this is just one of the first steps. So with that, do you want to call on the first one that you have in order then, Mr. Weaver?
Yes, so the first one we have is the Children's Advocacy Project. I think we did these according to alphabet.
And we have a timer over there running for 10 minutes, so.
Have at it. Well, thank you for inviting me tonight. I'm Heather Ross with the Children's Advocacy Project. I'll give you guys each a copy of our annual summary report, so you have an opportunity to look at that. Last year was the first year that we came to the city asking for financial assistance. In September of 2013, we actually opened our center right here in Riverton. We're very proud to be able to offer those services locally. Our services are very unique. We actually work with law enforcement, Department of Family Services, and the prosecutor's office in helping them while they do an investigation into child abuse crimes. The child abuse crimes that we most often investigate are child sexual abuse crimes. We also serve children who have been abused with serious physical injuries, which are generally broken down into like broken bones, severe burns, complicated long-term neglect issues like severe weight loss, locking a child in a specific location for a certain period of time. We also interview children who have been witnesses to a violent crime, most often of which is generally a homicide of some type, and the child has been a witness. It's a very unique program. Very few people know about us, but we've actually been in Casper since 2002, serving the majority of the state for a long time. Last year, we decided that we needed to branch out a little bit, help our northern partners somewhat, so that way they wouldn't have such a long drive to Casper. And that's the reason we landed right here in Riverton. We've been actually providing services to the Riverton community since, several years. I looked back, and for the last 5 years, since 2008, we've conducted 137 forensic interviews. Just last year, that was 40 forensic interviews right here in Fremont County. The largest user of those services is the Riverton Police Department. We also work with Lander Police Department and Fremont County Sheriff's Office. One of the services that we offer is what's called a forensic interview. We actually have an opportunity to talk with the child to share their experiences about what happened. They're being interviewed in a separate room. In another room, the team, who consists of law enforcement, child protection services, and the prosecutor's office, sit and watch from a live screen TV. So that way the child's not being interviewed by 3 or 4 individuals, either at the same time or at different times. Our interviewers are highly trained and highly skilled. It takes about 9 months to become a forensic interviewer. Most of our interviewers have conducted close to 300 or 400 interviews individually. So this is their specialty. It is a job that they do, and they do well. The interviews then they're recorded onto a DVD and can be used in prosecution later on. Any prosecutor will tell you, and I'm sure Chief Bradhead will concur, that these are the most difficult cases to investigate and by far the most difficult to prosecute. And without the process of the Children's Advocacy Project, it would be a certain loss to any community to not be able to have that skill set in your local community. And that's the reason we came to Casper. That's the reason we came to Riverton. Our Riverton Center runs us about $54,000, $55,000 annually. Our overall budget is close to $600,000, about $550,000. We are only asking for un momento of financing, which last year we were able to receive $3,500. This year we were asking for $4,500. When you look at an overall budget of $55,000, unfortunately that money's coming from somewhere, and most often it's coming from funders out of Natrona County. And this is something that I was able to sell them on last year to let them know that we were going to be able to become financially self-sufficient here in Fremont County, but without the support from the local community, that's really difficult. We have reached out to Burlington Northern, to Encana, other funding agencies as well, Lander City Council, and the Fremont County Commissioners as well. So we're just looking for some support to be able to show that the community wants us here and the community needs us here. And I have partner agencies from Department of Family Services. Zeta and Jennifer both came in today. Patrick, a longtime supporter of our program, working with the county attorney's office prior to now. But they can all speak on our behalf and let you guys know how valuable our services are. So even though I look like I'm coming from another county to visit with you today, it's really about Fremont County and what we do here. I'd love to answer any questions for you guys.
Council have any questions? Do you provide services to reservation members as well?
That's a really good question. No, we don't. They actually have a center of their own out on the reservation that was opened 2 years prior or 3 years prior. And so they are doing all of the children that reside on the reservation.
I see.
We're only one of 4 programs across the state of Wyoming as well. There's one in Jackson, one in Cheyenne, the one on the reservation, and then us.
Okay.
On the first page of our funding request, if you have that available, I kind of broke down what it costs to do one interview in Casper. And for the one investigator and one victim to drive down to Casper, and for the amount of time that they have to, an interview is 2 hours in length. And then obviously the drive time you're talking about is 5 hours. The cost of one interview just with the mileage and time alone is $760. So if you look at the 15 children that we interviewed for the city of Riverton, you're talking about $11,000 that we saved in mileage and the drive time only. That does not include the time that they're watching the interviews, because they're doing that right here in Riverton. But the amount of funds that we're saving the city of Riverton is $11,404.
Anyone? Yes,
Your
Councilman Guard.
You showed that you had already reached out to other areas for funding. Have you received anything from the county?
Thank you for asking. That is a really good point. In the past, we have always received funding from Converse County, from Natrona County. This year, we reached out to a lot more, including Bighorn County, Hot Springs County, Washakie County, and Niobrara County. The response, you guys, has been overwhelming. I'm saying that Lovell has to drive 4.5 hours to Casper, and they're talking about helping fund us at $6,000 a year. And that's them driving 4.5 hours for the service. Bighorn County is also saying that they're supporting us, I believe, at $3,000 to $4,000. Washakie, not nearly as much, maybe $2,000. Converse is a huge supporter of ours. I believe we get probably around $13,000 from Converse. Niobrara is looking at $6,000 in funding as well. And these are counties that we do not reside in. In Casper, we get $60,000 just from the county commissioners and the city council.
Have you received anything from Fremont County?
Yes, Fremont County Commissioners last year provided us $5,000 in funding, and this year we're asking for $7,500 in funding.
How about the city of Lander?
I just presented to them last month. They had funded us at $1,000 last year, and we are going to receive no funding this year from them, which is a very big disappointment, not just to myself and to my agency, but to our partner agencies as well. I know that, Chief Carey is very saddened to hear that. We say that we know we have to be here. It's not a question. Chief Broadhead can say that we have to be here. And if we're not here, you guys are coming to Casper to use us. You have to. It's an invaluable service, and I am working as hard as I possibly can to make sure that we stay right here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service. We appreciate it.
Thank you very
We'll
much.
do everything we can.
I appreciate that very much.
Mr. Weaver?
All right, volunteer firemen? They're not here. Okay, Volunteers of America?
Good evening, Your Honor and council members. My name is Kelly Buckingham, and I am the Clinical Division Director for Volunteers of America, and I supervise the Center of Hope here in Riverton. I want to thank you for allowing us the opportunity to discuss our budget request with you, but let me start by saying we appreciate your partnership over the years and are looking forward to your continued support. As most of you are aware, Volunteers of America acquired Fremont County Alcohol Crisis Center last June. We renamed it the Center of Hope, and last budget season we approached you and requested the same amount of funding and committed that we would not come back and ask for more monies, but would enhance the current program, and we've done that successfully. Before I share our victories, I want to outline our program modifications and areas of enhancement during the last fiscal year. Volunteers of America has more clearly defined the difference between close observation beds and social detoxification beds. Close observation beds are funded by the City of Riverton and Fremont County. These are intended to be a safe place for highly intoxicated individuals to withdraw, whereas social detox beds are funded by the state of Wyoming at the price of $623,000 and are contracted from the state to ensure clinically appropriate clients remain sober and connect to treatment and housing resources. This transition in programming has allowed for a program to be designed that manages clients through alcohol crises and motivates and encourages the clients to pursue substance abuse treatment and or housing when possible. Currently, we have 7 close observation beds, 11 social detox beds, and Volunteers of America recognizes that public intoxication is a very significant local issue. And we want to be a long-term partner and assist with providing a front-end solution to the problem. Currently, we provide 3.5 close observation beds at no additional cost to the city or the county. Further, VOA is committed to working with community partners to help secure additional support to meet the demands of the program while trying to avoid leaving our most vulnerable citizens on the street during inclement weather. We have taken it upon ourselves to do routine checks of common areas during harsh weather, often bringing clients into detox. To date, Center of Hope has served 219 unique individuals this fiscal year alone, where 28 individuals have sought some form of substance abuse treatment, 29 individuals have sought independent housing, and 26 of our clients have received help from vocational rehabilitation. This time last year, when we presented, the Center of Hope saw 102 unique clients, had only referred 4 clients to treatment services and 2 to vocational rehabilitation. We are making an impact with your funding by giving our clients access to necessary resources, treatment options, and ultimately saving lives. If the council goes through with the reduction, Volunteers of America will be forced to reduce its close observation bed by 1, which will have a direct impact on not only the police department's budget, but the city of Riverton's budget. This 1 bed would cost the city an additional $225 a day per individual, or $82,000 a year. This number was created using the current cost for containment of $75 a day. On average, each client stays 2 days, the cost of mileage reimbursable at 56 cents a mile, and overtime officer cost. An across-the-board cut, while it might seem equitable, is not a fair assessment on the services our agency is providing to the city. Without the detox center, the city of Riverton would be faced once again with dealing with this progressively destructive illness that affects not only individuals and families, but also our community. This year alone, the Center of Hope has seen 1,052 referrals from RPD and an additional 1,345 by self-admittance. This means that individuals are still seeking us out on their own. In 2011, Chief Broadhead prepared a report to Mr. Weaver and demonstrated that the Center of Hope saved the city approximately $209,000. Today, using those same calculations, the city would save approximately $283,000. We feel it is clearly evident that a reduction in funding would be a disadvantage to the city of Riverton and to the clients we serve. It is my hope that the city reconsiders the budget, and we are providing a critical and valued service to the city and would ask to be funded at our original request. Any questions?
Your Honor,
Yes, Councilman Gardner.
I'd like to go on record to say that you have made a wonderful impact.
Thank you.
And I've noticed that my businesses are close to your location, and I do notice the impact that you've made. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I understand the numbers, as massive as they are. I'm struggling with that half bed, 3.5 beds. I hope I don't have to have that half bed. It might be a little short for some of us.
It might, just a little.
I do want you to know that I appreciate the effort, and I do see the improvement. And so we'll look long and hard at that request. Thank you very much.
Does anyone else have any comments? I would certainly share Councilman Gard's feelings that Volunteers of America have just been doing an outstanding job with the center down there since you've taken over. And this consideration of a reduction that we're looking at, it doesn't have anything at all to do with performance. You know, it's we get handed bills on our side of things that are out of our control, and we try to deal with them with the budget we have. And so far they haven't cut into the mayor's salary or the councilman's salary, but I'm expecting that next. So at any rate, it's just a difficult time for us all, and we really appreciate your coming this evening and sharing with you.
Thank you for your time.
What's going on down there. So,
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Looks like I completely got off. I went all the way to Y. Sorry about that. So we've got Fremont County Good Samaritan.
Hi, I'm Peter Dvorak, and I'm the director of the Fremont County Good Samaritan Shelter. Our operation over there has been there since 1993, started primarily as a homeless shelter and continues to have that as our core mission over there. We also provide daily meals to any member of the community that is sober. We hand out or give clothing and household goods and things of that sort to people that need them to enable them to have their own places. Last year we asked for and got $6,000. This year it looked like if we follow through with what was written, it'd be $5,100. We can probably survive on that. Our primary source of income right now is a federal grant, community services block grant that we apply for through the Fremont County Association of Governments. I've applied for another grant which has come out every year that I've been there, the last 6 years anyway, from the federal government. This would be an emergency solutions grant, which is passed through by the state of Wyoming to us. No decision has been made on that yet. I did get the $50,000 from Community Services Block Grant. The rest of the money comes from a little bit from the city of Riverton, $5,000 from the county commissioners, and the rest just donations from concerned citizens around the county. It's a never-ending and never-changing, ever-changing situation down there. This morning at 6 o'clock, we had 8 people. By 7 o'clock, we had 7 people. By 11 o'clock, we were back at 8, and when I left at 5:30, there's 11. And that's sort of the story of how it goes down there. We are practically militant about people finding employment of some sort. And right now with 6 guys, 3 women, and 2 kids down there, 4 of the men are working full-time jobs. Now, when they check in originally, the folks that checked in today, we give them 7 days to find full-time employment, going on the assumption that there is jobs out there. And that if you're diligently looking, you will find them. Once a person is employed, I do encourage them to stick around a little while and try to bank as many paychecks as they can, and as we can encourage them to, so they can go get their own place. Most of a couple of the people did get on with the construction project down the street. That works out well for them. 2 others are working 2 part-time jobs in order to gather together a sufficient stake to go rent an apartment. And that's kind of the approach that we take with everybody that comes through. We have not had a great number of senior citizens or people who would not be able to work in a competitive employment environment. When those folks do come our way, we insist that they start looking at the low income and senior preference and disability preference housing projects around town, and there are several. So our whole goal is to try to provide a platform upon which people can rebuild their lives. We continue to be a zero tolerance facility for alcohol, and have not had a lot of problems with our long-term residents or even our short-term residents. We've had people that have been with us 100 days now trying to scrape together money. We've had other people that come and go in a day or 2. So we just take all kinds through there. One of our other projects, which is we've had for a number of years now, at least the 6 years that I've been there, is the commodity distribution program, where we get federal surplus food through the Food Bank of Wyoming over in Casper and distribute that to low-income people. And that runs from 55 to 80 households a month that we try to provide food to. In addition to that, in addition to the meals we serve, if people come by with a real challenging food situation, we go ahead and provide them food boxes and stuff. Our food comes primarily from donations, food, canned good drives, things of that sort. For a number of years now, Encana has gone to the county fair and bought animals, and it now is even paying to have them processed. And so we get like a half a beef and pork and lamb and these kinds of things. Other people bring us things every day. And so we kind of rely on the goodwill of the community. And I had included in that list that I sent over to Kristen a list of all of our donations over the past year. And as you can see, there's many little ones, lots of big ones. We have not run a full-fledged fundraising drive for about 4 years now, for a couple of reasons. One, we've been able to operate low-key for a while, and the contributions and donations of money, food, and material just keep coming in. And we still do have a bank account that I've had to draw on a lot, as you probably noticed in the last 12 months, that we're going to press ahead. I can take any questions you might have about our operation down there. It's 921 and 917 East Washington, if you haven't been there.
Thank you, Peter. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, apparently not.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you,
and thank
Peter.
you
We
for your
appreciate
past
your time.
support.
Thank you. Thanks.
Injury prevention.
Hello all, Noel Cooper, Executive Director for Injury Prevention Resources. I'd like to start by thanking the Mayor Warpness and the council and the staff for entertaining our proposal. The original letter went out to our lander address that does not exist, so the notable day late application belongs to me. I presented probably around a year ago to the council about our services, and because there's some new faces up here, I'll try to be brief but describe everything we do. Thank you for last year's funding. I don't envy your guys' position to have to make a budget cut. It's a difficult thing. I didn't get the letter in time to make the budget cut within the amount I requested. But by all means, you know, we can find the place to cut if we need to. So just means we'll do a little less somewhere. To dive into our programs real quick, as far as what we do, we're broke out into essentially 3 areas. One of them being the Safe Communities program, and our mission is just simply saving lives across Wyoming. And we do that through roadway safety of all kinds, all forms. Specifically, that Safe Communities program, we have emphasis on seatbelt usage, impaired driving, and child car seats. All of our programs are data-driven, as they have to be, and we attack the issue in numerous different ways. It's a dear cause to me because, you know, the stats show that if you're between the ages of 5 to 35, the likelihood of you dying is in a vehicle or on a roadway. So to me, that's a big group of young people that I'm almost not in that group anymore, age-wise, but I'm hanging in there. So that's why the cause is so dear. How we approach this throughout the community in Riverton is through a multitude of ways, and we, you know, I think Riverton has the benefit of us being here. We have a lot of other areas that we can work towards, and there's areas that we do work in. But you know, us being here certainly means that we're available. You know, we get a lot of drop-ins, a lot of calls, a lot of people that need help, and they need help in numerous different facets. So one of the biggest ways that we kind of educate the community and try to change this culture of people that are drinking and driving, wearing seatbelts, and not buckling children in car seats is through media. We utilize radio, billboards, internet. You know, we try not to put our logo very huge on there so everyone knows it's us, but we do comprehensive media campaigns throughout the whole county and including Riverton. We actually have a couple billboards up now that are relevant to seatbelt safety and to buckle to save your own life and the people in your vehicle as well. We conduct the Victim Impact Panel here once a month. We have 3 months out of the year that we're in Lander. We sit on usually around 20 to 25 people average, and what that is a panel of speakers who've been impacted by impaired driving, because it's really takes a lot of bravery for people to tell their story about how impaired driving has impacted them. We've been able to utilize some of the RPD officers, and they've been great helping us speak to the attendees who are people who have received a DUI. So we've collaborated with them, and we've got some great partners and some very brave people that tell their story of how impaired driver has impacted them. And we welcome guests, and if any of you have never come, we do it right here on the first Thursday of every month, except for the few that were in Lander. And I think it would be eye-opening. I know every time I attend, I've been doing it for 2 years, and it's still eye-opening to me on how one incident can have such a far-reaching effect. The other programs we conduct, is I'm sure most everyone's aware of, are the safety rodeos within the schools. And that is we assure every child has a bike helmet on their head to try to reduce the incidence of traumatic brain injury. And we do one at every Riverton school for grades K through 3. We're looking at adding a community one if we can for the private schools and for some of the people who, kids that miss it and all that. I don't know why I want to do that. That seems like chaos, but we're looking at doing it. We gave away over 800 helmets to kids grade K through 3 last year. And so, as anyone knows that works with our hospitals, that's more than a couple heads that were saved, and people that hopefully will grow up to function in our society. We do child car seat distribution program and child car seat inspections. The distributed seats are to low income. We assure that it's somebody who needs the seat. Along with the seat that we give them comes education on how to install the seat properly. And as far as the inspection proponent, we have available by appointment. We'll inspect any child car seat to make sure it's safe. 86% of them are misused, so even the people who think they're doing it right, a lot of times there's something in there. So we have nationally certified techs, including myself, that will make sure a seat's in, make sure a child is buckled in there safe. And as I said, if they don't have the money, we make sure that we get them a seat. We have a newer program called Operation Safe Kids, and we're working with hospital employees. We're working with, hopefully with the PD. This will be maybe the first time Chief has heard it. But what it is it's a 2-hour-long training that can count towards training hours and post hours for officers. And so it's training we can provide right here, and it stops them from having to send people to go get post-hour trainings. It's certified through the state of Wyoming. And it's just, we're showing professionals and law enforcement what they're looking for on a stop as far as people not buckled and children not buckled correctly. So we just got that off the ground. We're pretty excited for that. And we think it's a real valuable thing. I'm running out of time, okay. The other two programs that we do are the DUI monitoring program, and that utilizes the alcohol monitoring bracelets. And the absolute best way to describe that is a breathalyzer that goes on your ankle, and it draws samples off of what's considered insensible perspiration, so not the actual sweat, but the gases your body releases. And it's full accountability for consumption alcohol. We had just about 60 people on our last fiscal year, and it's done by a sliding scale, trying to make it affordable for the low-income people. But what we've noticed it really does is, for these people who have got themselves in a bind with multiple DUIs or not complying with breathalyzers, it gives them a chance to know that they need to be sober constantly, and it allows them to stay in the community and work. Whereas once they've exhausted their other options, instead of the judge putting them in the clink, they can wear the bracelet, and it gives them a chance to work. A lot of guys that work in North Dakota and oil rigs and out of town utilize them because they can't get off the oil rig to go blow into a tube twice a day. It just can't be done. So it's been a really good program there, and it's a very effective tool that we can actually start to utilize more as time goes on, and hopefully as laws get a little tougher on DUIs to keep our impaired drivers off the road. The last program that we do, and we do little stuff here and there as well, it's DUI Supervised Probation Program, and thanks to the Community Service Block Grant people and in their organization, we're able to conduct this program, and we had 165 clients last year, and they come to us for specialized DUI probation. Within that is a low-income proponent, and that's what the block grant helps us with. And when they come to us, we're making sure that they're accountable. And whatever the judge orders them to do, that is our will is to carry out the court's demands. So we do everything we can to do that, but we also approach it with an understanding that, if most people don't care about complying with their DUI probation if they don't have a house, or if they don't have certain things, Maslow's theory of needs. So we really try to approach it to make sure that the probation is something that is manageable within their life by taking care of the things that were unmanageable. We've been able to accomplish that by referring out to other agencies and just to make sure they follow through, getting substance abuse evaluations, making sure they get the help they need to be successful people. And we've had, over the last 4 years, we've had a 0.026% recidivism rate. So that doesn't mean they didn't come to probation with us and finish and then go get a DUI somewhere else. But as far as the last 4 years, the people that came back to us, only 0.026% have came back. So they don't want to get another DUI, and that's the goal. There it is. Done. Any questions?
Council have any questions? No?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes,
No,
Councilman Christensen.
The seatbelt enforcement guide, does that have anything to do with like the program they were talking about on the news tonight? Do you have any influence in that with this highway patrol?
Which program
They're
is it?
enforcing the seatbelts and different things this month.
Right.
So is
yes.
that all combined?
Yeah, May mobilization is specific. NHTSA or National Highway Traffic Safety mandated enforcement time period, and that's where the Safe Communities people like us, we push all of our media out, and then we just see how we can support, and then the rest is, up to them to write the tickets. But yeah, it's important. We do May mobilization for seatbelts, and then August crackdown for DUIs. So
They are out there this month.
they are. They'll
are.
write you a ticket.
Uh-oh.
No, I almost got stopped. They're checking, please no. They're serious.
At our meeting this afternoon up at the college, they talked about alcohol court in Casper. Is that something that would be helpful to you, or would you support, or are you familiar with that? Or
I'm very familiar with it. It actually is a program that is I mean, we certainly have the numbers, I think, of people to go through, and we, with our victim impact panel and with our DUI probation part, we have a piece of that puzzle as well. And the main goal of that is to get all the people at the table making the decisions, a judge, defense attorney, county attorney, the probation, a caseworker, everyone at the table making decisions on these people, because they all work at the same goal, but with a different approach. So the ideal is to get them the best treatment possible.
just from the discussion, it sounded like they're without that court, why people can, go through the process several times and not really trip any red flags or something, but with the alcohol court, why they would be on a first name basis with these individuals and could provide some real teeth in the action that's taken.
I think so, and we do have a similar setup in Fremont County through the CAST program, and they're based out of Lander, but they work over here as well. But I think the goals of those programs are to, when you have a probation officer sitting across from a social worker or a counselor, usually there's a different viewpoint, and it's people with different opinions and different views to make a good common decision. So I think that those are, Casper's had a lot of good success. Denver has a very big one that's highly successful, and
Okay.
I would support.
Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Councilman, I'm sorry, Councilman Guard.
Nolan, I'd like to thank you for your associates for the meeting they put on this afternoon. Excellent meeting. And what was really good was they were in the shadows. They didn't take the arrows and the spears, and I was really proud of them to sit back and let that meeting develop. It was smart of your group to develop that meeting. Appreciated that.
They do a great job.
They really do, and they really did well today, like the mayor said. A 0.02 percentage of recidivism is fabulous.
We're proud of it.
It really is amazing. I never would, if anyone asked, I do a lot of work out the honor farm, I would never have guessed that you could have that high of percentage. And so I commend you for that, and you do good work.
Thank you, sir.
I may even start buckling up more often.
That's the spirit.
There we go.
Give you a ticket if you don't.
Councilman
Chief
Canaan.
watches me. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Thank you, folks.
Councilman Canaan.
Sir, what's your total budget?
Our overall budget, well, we sit on our total expenses of, we're right on the line. $353,720.
353.
Yeah. And our estimated income source for the 14-15 fiscal year is $353,128.
Okay, thank you.
It's a pretty slim margin you're operating on.
Yeah, you might see me out selling helmets in a parking lot somewhere, but that's all right.
Okay.
Well, it's a good cause both ways around, so.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Noel.
all.
We appreciate your coming.
Pause.
Good evening, Your Honor and Council. I'm Kent Moss from Paws for Life Animal League. We run Riverton Animal Shelter. It was a year ago that we came to you actually asking for an increase in funding, and you were more than generous to us and met that request. And so we kind of hate to see us go backwards at this point, but if that's what happens, that's the way it goes, I guess. But we would like to encourage you to keep us at the 50,000 funding level that we were at for the last fiscal year. I just wanted to hit a few highlights in our budget here. I assume all of you have a copy of it. If not, we can get one for you. But the program income, just as an explanation on that, that is the money that's derived from our operations. That's our adoption fees, our reclamations, et cetera. So that's where that money comes from, just as a definition for that. You will see under our special events income, that is all of the fundraisers that we do throughout the year. As some of you know, that's quite a bit. We're just about out there every month, and the list does not really do it justice to how much work we really put into the fundraising. The main event that we do is our Paws and Pearls wine tasting that we do every September. That is our premier, our signature event. That's what everything hinges on for us. Unfortunately, last year we slipped a little bit and it wasn't quite as successful as we'd hoped. We budgeted about $75,000 to make from that, and we fell about $15,000 short on that. So this year it's anybody's guess if we'll hit the $75,000 that we've got budgeted for that. Again, we're out there constantly working hard to do the fundraising. We added a winter yard sale this year, which was new for us, just to kind of boost our cash flow a little bit. The winter is kind of a slow time. The expense side of our budget that's the reality that we face. The revenue side is our optimism. The expenses is what we face with reality. Those are numbers that we just really can't change. So that's just the reality of it. Our expenses, mostly payroll is a large portion of it. That takes a lot of man hours to clean that shelter every day, and if you don't keep up with that, bad things start to happen. So it's just one of those things that we have to do. But the budget has stayed fairly consistent last year over this year, so we're pretty proud of that, being able to contain the costs. Just to hit a few highlights from us, I had our shelter manager go over what we've done for animal activity over the last year. Ended April 30th. It was actually a good year for us. We only took in 747 animals, roughly 500 dogs and 250 cats. So that's a little bit down from what we would normally run, so that is helpful. We're able to get most of those animals either reclaimed or adopted. And those that we can't, we send off to various other shelters who are more than willing to take them for us. We work quite closely with the Humane Society down in Salt Lake. We have an in with them, and so they're willing to help us out quite a bit. It boosts our fuel and transportation costs, but it's well worth it in the end to get those animals out in a place where they can actually find a home. And so I just want to recognize our staff for the great work that they do in promoting the adoptions. We're constantly amazed at the support we get from the community, coming in all the time, looking for animals to take home with them, and just the donations we receive. We're just very blessed with that. So, but it's not something that you can always count on and is predictable, so we do face those fluctuations. So just in recognition, I know we have some new council members here that have not had the benefit of maybe being at the animal shelter, having the chance to ask questions. I'd just like to give you that opportunity now, if there's any questions that we can answer for you guys.
Any questions for Mr. Moss? I would just like to wonder how things are going with the county. I know that the county, I think, has been bringing animals to our animal shelter. Is that correct? Or
no, not
okay.
Since last fall.
Okay.
And we did submit a funding request this year to once again go back to taking county animals, but we have not had the chance to make a presentation or hear whether or not they are going to go back to that. So it's kind of a wait and see game at this point in time, just to
See,
we're just absorbing the animals in that are coming in from the county, is that?
it's possible. People are pretty smart about how they do this. They know that animals out from outside the city limits are not accepted, but there's nothing to prevent them from saying that they found it within the city limits, and it's pretty much a faith and trust issue, so.
Yes.
So they do circumvent the system, it does happen, and
I remember reading the letter in the paper the other night that talked about the little animal between, I think, Shoshone and the canyon that had been left by its owner or something, and I just wondered why they didn't pick that animal up and bring it into the animal shelter rather than just leave it alongside the road if they knew that's what was happening. That was kind of discouraging to me, but anyway, it's a tough job. So, any other comments anyone would like to make? Thank you very much for coming, Ken. I appreciate the work you do.
thank you.
Our recreation?
Thank you guys for having us. I'm Mary Axelm, and I'm the program director for our recreation, and I wanted to introduce to you Amara Faring, who has recently come on board as our new activities coordinator, and she's going to share briefly some of her plans for the future of our recreation. Thank you very much for supporting our vision. Our vision is to strengthen our community by enriching the lives of all of our residents, from birth to senior, by providing affordable and diverse recreational opportunities. 7 years ago, in the fall of 2007, Central Wyoming College and the City of Riverton embarked on a really, really unique and successful relationship. And when I look at all of the other recreation programs in the state of Wyoming, this is a very unique arrangement that we have, and it's worked very well, I think. It's a neat partnership. One of the things I wanted to point out that some of you may or may not be aware of is the previous budget, when the city was running the programming for the recreation, was over $300,000. When we agreed 7 years ago to take over the program, we took over less than half of that budget and took seriously the charge of providing a quality recreation program that was reliable and a face in our community. And that's what we've strived for the past 7 years to accomplish. We have grown tremendously. In 2013, we served over 5,200 people in our community. And I looked back today to see what the numbers were when we received the program, and the year we received the programs, their numbers were 1,037. So we increased that significantly. We're looking forward to some program expansion in 2014 and 2015, and I'm going to let Amara just speak briefly about that so you can kind of see what direction our recreation is going, because I think it's an area that we have had a little bit of a void in, so I'm excited for Amara's addition.
So what I have come on board to do, as I've discussed with Mary, is we really want to enrich the education that we have for a lot of the youth, especially in high school. We feel like we've kind of lacked a little in our high school education outside of high school. And so we've talked about going into the high school and actually dovetailing on some of the classes and having classes outside of what teachers are teaching in the classroom to just kind of enrich what they would like to be teaching, which is very exciting. I'm talking with the theater professor the theater teacher at Riverton High School to kind of talk to her about doing some extra Shakespeare classes for her students so that they can kind of touch on that and act it out. We're talking about doing a space camp, kind of expanding some of our science. So we're very excited about where we're going.
So as you consider our request, we're really grateful, of course, of your continued support. But keep in mind that when we took over this operation 7 years ago, we have never asked for a budget increase in the 7 years that we've done this. We did consider one before we got the letter informing us that there was a 15% cut. We did consider an increase in requests this year simply because we've grown so much. And with a number of people that we're serving, the number of programs that we're administering, we obviously have an increased need for space and an increased need for staff. But after getting the letter, we realized that this would be a real foolish time to ask for more money. So we're not, and we're open to continuing at our current level of funding. I agree with the people who have expressed a concern about the decrease. It's our intent. Our intent has always been to continue to grow and to expand and serve our community in any area that we can. And I feel that a decrease in funding we're going to either have to increase costs or decrease programming, or both. And that's something that we have strived to never have happen each year. We try to grow in every area that we can. So we're grateful for the opportunity to serve our community, and we hope that we'll continue to have your support. Okay. And we'd answer any questions that you guys might have.
Any council members have any questions? I would just like to say I was on the council when the city was trying to run the recreation program and whatnot, and I recall, you know, the budget difficulties that we had in keeping it going, and that 300,000, I don't recall that figure specifically, but it doesn't surprise me at all. And it just reached a point that we weren't able to make it work, it seemed like, and so you guys are doing an outstanding job, and we're sure getting our money's worth, that's for sure.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
So.
And I know you guys have heard talk probably about the ice skating rink. That is completely funded separately from this budget. This budget does not include the ice rink.
Now, is that true with the, okay, so they're all for the community ice rink, I see.
Right, yeah, the funding I've listed there will cover the cost of the first year's kit and things for the ice skating rink that will not come out of the budget that we've requested. So that's kind of an exciting adventure.
Yeah, that is. I've talked to a lot of people that are real excited about it. I remember when I was in high school, we used to go down on the river. We'd take a couple tires down there and throw them on the ice and set them on fire. And then after you had been out ice skating most of the day, while you were just black around your mouth from inhaling all that smoke. And so it was quite an interesting time.
Doesn't seem to freeze up quite enough anymore, does it?
No, you had to be careful that you didn't melt the ice, you know, where the tires were and fall through. So anyway, it was a fun day out.
Yeah.
But this will be a lot.
Your Honor?
Yes, Councilman Garden.
I didn't think they had ice back when you were a kid.
That far back.
Could you run me just through, let's say, a Little League ball player, how you fund that Little League ball player through Riverton Rec? What are you doing for that, just that Little League ball player?
We don't give any funding to Riverton Little League. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
We don't. The support that we offer to the separate boards like Riverton Little League, Riverton Youth Soccer, is more in administrative services. We handle all of their registration.
That's what I wanted
Okay, yep. Okay, so they come, and this is the awesome thing about our recreation. We have established ourselves as a central location for every program in Riverton that takes registration. So we do adult softball, Riverton Junior Football, Little League, girls fast pitch, baseball camps. And so what we do is we accept all of the registrations. When they come in, we take the registration form from them or give it to them and give them instructions on how to fill it out. And then we take their fees and attach them and hold them in a safe place until the representative from Little League comes up and gets it. But what is interesting about that is when Little League has 350 players, we've had contact with almost every one of their parents, and it takes time to get through all of those people, and it's usually all from 3:15 to 5 o'clock.
We appreciate your efforts.
Yeah, we're happy to do it.
That's a lot of work.
It's a good service, though. We're happy to do it.
Is this only for something like Little League or something like that you do that, or would you do that for any organization that has a group coming in?
Any organization, we'd be happy to do it. It's convenient. We're there. We're established. People know where we are. We have a drop box outside our door that's secure. If they can't get up between 8 and 5, they need to come over the weekend. We absolutely would extend that service to anybody that could be valuable, that could be valuable too, and we're there.
And so you have a standardized form that you use, or does the individual organization bring their own form?
They bring their own form. Yes, everybody has their own, and some have Facebook releases and photo releases, but most of them have a code of conduct and a liability waiver that is unique for their group.
Well, that's a valuable service that I just wasn't aware at all that you were doing.
Absolutely, and if you guys do hear of other groups that could benefit from that, we're there. We would be happy to take, especially when it's a volunteer board. It's real difficult to track those people down. we'd be happy to be the central location for them.
Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
thank you very much for coming this evening.
Okay, Chamber of Commerce.
Should
Should've been in the C.
instead of R.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Primarily, my request is less this year because we chose not to hire a part-time person. We had myself and a full-time administrative assistant and a part-time person that manned the visitor's desk, and when that person left, we didn't replace them. We decided between myself and the assistant, we could handle that. We still do have one part-time person that works 2 hours a day, 2 days a week, that helps stuff packets and whatever, and she's actually a client of CES. And so we provide a little bit of income for her. And we redistributed the workload, as you can see, a little bit. I did include, a little side note, I went back and checked the budget when I first went to work at the chamber, and the budget that the city was providing for the visitor center was $39,000. So it's been trimmed considerably the whole 6 years that I've been there. And that's just my evaluation of the workload and what really needed to be done. And of course, I had kind of a vested interest because I spent a little time in this room myself. So I just needed to make it more realistic. And then I did include with my request a breakdown of the visitor information that we put out for this last year, except for 2 months, or actually 2013. And if you read that, we actually, through all the different medias that we work in, by walk-in requests, phones, emails, relocation packets that we've sent out, vacation packets that we've sent out, and then visitor packets that we put together for visiting meetings, conventions, whatever comes to town. Even really actually do some for things that go to Lander for a meeting also. We actually handed out 12,664 requests for information. And I also try to leverage lodging tax money into some of this to help defray some of the costs, because I think there's a vested interest there for the lodging tax money that's distributed to me from the lodging tax board to defray some of those costs. And then a side note, I think you probably all are aware of the granting program we did this year, that the lodging tax through the TAD, Tourism Asset Dollars, we actually distributed almost $100,000 to different groups in the community, and that's directly from the lodging tax. So it's pretty simple and straightforward. If you have questions, I'd be more than glad to answer them.
Anyone have questions of Mr. Davis?
And you do have a representative that sits on my board too, so.
Yes, I would just like to say, Jim, that I occasionally get requests for information, a postcard here, information on the community there, and I refer them to Jim, and he's always very gracious about sending something out. I appreciate that.
Well, that's what our cause is.
Otherwise, I'd have to dig it out. And then,
Right.
You know,
It's a little interesting side note, when I was here 2 weeks ago and showed you that article in the 99 Things, Monday morning, we had 10 requests.
Really?
An article.
Okay.
And so it's getting out there, and people are taking notice. And it was from all over the country, not just surrounding Wyoming. It was from all over the country.
That was a beautiful article. Very well done.
Yeah, so
Well
it's coming together, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we already called the volunteer fire department. They here? I don't think so. So the last one is youth services.
Dessert yet? Chuck deserted us for a second.
Stepped out first.
Chuck, where are you? Stephen, do you want to go see if you can dig him out? Could be.
Apologize for that slight delay. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for inviting us back this year for our contract renewal discussion. I'm Chuck Kratz, Director of Youth Services of Fremont County, and this is our 19th year of collaboration with the city, hopefully. One thing I wanted to note was Mr. Weaver's letter and mine, I think, crossed in the mail, and we are actually, of our own volition, found that we could only sought a 20% reduction in funding. So you got an extra $2,250 to kick around. So that's not a bad way to open up, is it?
No.
No,
That's,
You may get the prize.
that would solve a lot of our problems if everyone approached the
Yeah,
problem
well,
that way.
you know, we're trying to do a really good job of managing our funding, and don't want to pad anything, and what we need is what we need to function. So, you know, we've been working for 19 years with the city. We do the juvenile justice programming here. I know some of the council and mayor are familiar with our program, certainly Chief Broadhead, but if any of you new members, I could kind of give you just a brief breakdown. I don't want to spend too much time going over this with you, but at any rate, our staff, Sean Robertson, Patty Granlin, there's one other position here, Michelle Harris, she was ill tonight, work full-time here in Riverton. They primarily are focused with the Riverton Police Department offense referral. So any kids who get in trouble in this jurisdiction, and by trouble I mean a criminal offense, get referred to our office at the time of citation. Patty, Sean, or Michelle meet with the police department, pick up the information on a daily basis. Then we sit down with the family and the child and do a intake interview, a sit-down interview where we have the guardian, the kid, the police report, and that's a standardized interview. We do an assessment around standardized assessment we've all been trained in to predict around probability of reoffending, areas of need for the kid, whether it be substance abuse or mental health issues. And it's quite a comprehensive interview. It takes an hour and a half. We interview the kids and parents individually. And after that, we make collateral contacts with the school. The staff is very well integrated in the community. Patty's been working with us for 12 years, Sean 9 years, and Michelle 6 years. So they're very well seasoned, have quite a bit of training and investment made by you and the county and our other funding sources in our personnel. So we're very well integrated with the police department, as I'd mentioned, also with the schools. I think we're probably up to the schools close to a daily basis, and have some regular meetings that we attend there to staff kids with the school district here. Interestingly enough, too, just as an aside, the entire staff are all graduates of Leadership Fremont County, too. And Sean's your current vice president, president-elect for the upcoming session, too. So we're real pleased with that. And that, I think that shows a level of commitment that we have with the community here in Riverton and countywide. Once we do our intake interview, we compile this information that's in a written report. We can keep a database with those reports along with the other data regarding those offenses. Then those are staffed with what's called a single point of entry committee, which is run by the county attorney's office. The deputy county attorney assigned to juveniles chairs that meeting. We do that weekly. And then along with these folks who have actually met with the kid and have compiled the information, then we also have representatives from both tribal agencies, Northern Arapaho and the Eastern Shoshone, that are at the table with us. The Department of Family Services in Lander and Riverton, Child Protection Services, those types of things. We also forward information to the school resource officers, and as I said, we make contact with the school districts and other collateral sources, and also our juvenile treatment courts. So it's at that time we kind of staff the case and a course of action, whether it be a formal court filing or if we can do a pre-court diversion. And the pre-court diversion, for those that aren't familiar with those terms, are it's actually a contract with the kid, the family, the supervising person, and the prosecutor. The kid has to admit doing something wrong, so we've got something to talk about. And if they didn't do anything wrong, then they should just proceed through court and plead not guilty, etc. So we do those contracts. Those have terms and conditions. The idea is that we're going to hold them accountable, responsible. Broker services, we provide some in-house services ourselves around Patty's trained in restorative justice conferencing. All three staff are trained in moral recognition therapy, and that's a cognitive behavior group that we do. So those kinds of things go on in-house that we do with the kids as well. So we try and divert as many kids and handle them without utilizing unnecessarily the resources of the attorneys, court time, and those kinds of things, and meet the same goals. So, but we also, if they fail to successfully complete a pre-court diversion, then there's always the opportunity to go back to court and you have a little bit more information as far as what the problem areas are. So that's kind of how that works. And that's a big focus of what we do is this initial intake, this compiling the information, disseminating that, staffing these kids, and then working with these pre-court diversion cases. Additionally, they supervise kids through court orders, they do court reports, and then, as I said, facilitate restorative justice. We just got trained in anger replacement therapy, which is through this restorative justice school that they went to in Pennsylvania, actually, and just started our first group with that, and are sending back some videos to get evaluated on how we're doing in those kinds of things. So we're always looking to be innovative and meet the needs of the community. I think we've talked in years gone by about our changing lives through literature, collaboration with the library, where we take kids, instead of community service, they do a program through the library, which has been really successful, which I never thought would be so well received by the kids. So the budget, our overall budget's in the neighborhood of $330,000. We're getting some state money, which there's some change in the legislation around the single point of entry, setting that up, and there's a little bit of funding that we can apply for. So that's helped us out here. And so we've got about $34,000 from that source for this coming year. And then between Lander and Riverton, that would be another $51,000 or so. So that would be our budget. The dollars here, the county provides all the computers, the IT, the paper, the pencils, the office space, turns the light and heat on for us, and all those kinds of things too. So this money, typically, it's easy to manage. I just supplement the salaries with it.
Okay.
So, I didn't know if Patty or Sean had any brief comments you wanted to make regarding things.
I'm open to answering any questions that you have about any of the services that we here.
Why don't you step up to the microphone if you're, there you go. Or
I'm sorry. I'd be more than willing to entertain any questions about the services that we provide for our juveniles here in Riverton. And like Chuck said, that is our cognitive behavioral therapy program, which is moral recognition therapy, restorative justice conferencing, which we've had great success with since about 2008. And like I said, we've just completed our first anger replacement program, which is an anger management component for some of our kiddos, and we're really excited to get going with that one. But if you have any questions,
what is the age range that you work with?
That's a great question.
We get kids referred commit a crime that are under 18. Now we have had, and so they may be, we get them at 17 3/4, so they may turn 18 while we're still providing services to those kids.
So it would be between.
Well, there's questions about when is a child really culpable, and at the younger age, a lot of times it's more around parental supervision, those kinds of things. But, we get kids referred at, 9 and 10 years old. And, a lot of times we'll collaborate with the Department of Family Services around the family's needs and those kinds of things.
The reason that I'm asking, our new Job Corps that's coming in, going to have 300 students, and they're going to be between 16 and 24, I believe is the age. And so how will that impact your organization, or have you thought about that, or will there be interaction with them, or what?
There certainly will be, and I've come here to some of your open house for some of the applicants with the RFP, and then I met with another group just last week in Lander that came to visit that I think are running 15.
We just had another potential operator come today, and that's what
I missed that one.
Yeah,
At any rate, it's a two-way street. We, and I've been here in my current position for 30 years in Fremont County, so over the course of that time, I've utilized the Job Corps through our job services now, and assisting kids in applications and seeing them go to Anaconda or Trapper Creek or Weaver Basin, those places outside of the community. So I'm very excited to have this resource here, and I think it's something that we can guide the appropriate needs to. The Job Corps, the time that I've been involved with them, as I said, 30 years, they've tightened things up quite a bit on their application process and their policy around, zero tolerance around drugs and alcohol, and what kinds of kids they'll take as far as court supervision and those things. And I think we get a pretty good class of kids at the Job Corps. And so, I was very interested in meeting with the prospective providers, and had some suggestions that I think they took to heart too, as far as I think what I would see very important is that we have predominantly, and I mean, 90% kids on campus in residential program and not day students. I think that's would be a real opportunity for some kids to get a little independence away from their current environment. And what I've seen over my career is a lot of times the family and home situation is maybe something that contributes to one degree or another to their delinquency. And success in school is the biggest correlate in having a crime-free life with juveniles. So we can get them, get the training and the education that the Job Corps can provide, and do that. I think we'll have a greater success doing it residentially. And then I also spoke to them in regards to having a very strong support staff at the Job Corps too. Just around the areas that, when we look at our data, it's, the most significant problems are around drugs and alcohol in particular, so that they need to be prepared to address those issues as they come up and provide, a good solid level of support and environment so those kids can be successful up there. So I'm excited about it.
Good.
Been long overdue,
It sounds like you've certainly factored that into the future of your organization as well as our community. So.
Right.
So. Anyone else? Yes, Councilman Gard.
On your activity report and the classification of juvenile offenses, alcohol is only rated at 33%, and property damage is at 30%.
Well, you could lop those in together under the drug and alcohol, and I think if you do that, it's usually close to 40. And are you looking at the
class of juvenile offenses?
Yeah. So if you had,
I guess my question to you is that we run about 85%, where we can track a lot of our city problems to about 85% of alcohol or drugs. And I was just wondering if I'm not reading that correctly, or if I should be gathering those together better.
No, I think that, that's accurate, your interpretation, and it's typically, in the 40% range. Okay. So, drugs and alcohol, drugs are illegal for everyone, but alcohol certainly is not illegal for adults. And, you know, when you think of where the adults came from, you know, it's from that issue around the substance abuse a lot of times too. So, you know, that's why we have this strong emphasis around the pre-court diversion, is because, you know, it's typical that there's probably no one in here that can say they didn't commit a crime when they were a kid, technically. You know what I mean? So.
None of us.
Yeah, well, right. Maybe that's just
Speak for yourself, Mr. Gard.
But at any rate, you know, these kids are, for the most part, you know, you guys turned out okay. I think I turned out okay, but, you know, they make mistakes in judgment, you know, all the brain research and all those kinds of things around your frontal lobe and development. And so this gives them an opportunity to, without getting a criminal conviction or weighing down the court system, to hold them accountable, responsible, make restitution, do all the other kinds of things that we would all agree needs to happen, but without the negative consequences of tying up the courts or having them penetrate deeper into the criminal justice system. So,
Your Honor?
Excuse me, the mayor mentioned earlier about it, alcohol court. Would that be of any assistance?
well, we have, you know, when Noel mentioned CAST, I didn't know if that went over your head, but that's the court-assisted supervised treatment. So that's the adult drug court. So it's not a drug court, it's a drug and alcohol or substance abuse court. So that's ongoing, and they're, you know, quite busy. Then we also have a juvenile treatment court, and so that deals with the alcohol and the drug-involved kids. And what we found, so part of the intake interview is to screen those kids initially. That's our first opportunity, and it's pretty clear when you have a kid that commits a property offense when he's intoxicated, but what if he gets referred, you know, for a shoplifting or a property offense? But by sitting in, you have no idea around the substance abuse because it's not in the police report, but by these guys sitting down and being professionally trained and knowing the right questions to answer and developing a relationship with the family and the parents that, you know, we're in this together cooperatively, then we get a lot of information, and the kids are actually quite honest about divulging things. So, you know, it may be, gee, they committed a property offense, but what I'm really upset about, Chuck, or what I'm concerned about is I've been finding vodka bottles under the bed. Or when we call the school, it's like, gee, Johnny seems like he's missing a lot of school when he's here. He's kind of groggy. The word is, you know, maybe he's drinking a lot, those kinds of issues. So we can factor that in and talk to the kids and the family. And then through a voluntary process, we can provide them with some substance abuse evaluation services so that they can get a professional opinion, just like if your kid had a side ache, you'd want to get it evaluated professionally. So we'll have them have an evaluation, and then that information is used with the family and with the prosecutor to see if the kid could be served through the juvenile treatment court. You have to be at a pretty high level of need to be involved in that, and there's some technical jargon like a 2.1 or something diagnosis. So it's a mental health diagnosis. So you know, we get those kids directed towards the juvenile treatment court, and then that requires some formal court processing too. And then the ones that maybe don't hit that high mark, we still handle through a pre-court, and we do regular drug and alcohol screening and those kinds of things, and you know, work with the family and the kid, and if there's some need for some other kinds of counseling or those kinds of things, we broker those services or include that in a pre-court contract where we'll give you this break, but you have to do this thing that's maybe not related to the crime, but it's related to your behavior, you know, of getting some alcohol counseling or those kinds of things.
One last thing I'd like to say is I appreciate your fiscal conservative point of view to bring in a lower budget. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Well, and you know, it's been 19 years, and we've had a very strong collaboration. I've cut the budget on request once with Carter when there was a little fiscal calamity, but you guys have always very strongly supported us, especially when we were just getting underway with our collaboration. So it's a mutual feeling. So
thank you, Your Honor.
Councilman Fabian, do you have something?
Yeah, I was just more on the technical side of things. So is this like a plea bargain arrangement, or how? I guess I don't understand.
On a pre-court diversion?
Yeah.
Okay, so you would be cited for an offense. You would get, I think in your packet, there's a copy of that little form that the police officers have. And so you and your family are referred to us for this intake interview. And you've been cited for a property offense, let's just say. So you would come in with your parents and do this intake interview. If you did not want to do that, there's no penalty, and we can't coerce you to come in to do that, but you'd just go to court, just like your citation has a court date on it. So then you would go to court, be advised of your rights, and proceed through a formal court process. By coming in and meeting with us, we're able to sit down. It's maybe the first time the parents have actually seen the official police report, so we'll read through that. Maybe that's not the version they got from Johnny when he came home, or the police dropped him off, and those kinds of things. So that's always a good opportunity for the family. And then we can look at what the child and family's needs are, and not just, it's like, oh, you stole something, so you need to do this, without knowing maybe there is a sexual assault in your history or something of that nature that really needs some further evaluation around mental health, those kinds of things. So, in answer to your question, it's similar to a plea bargain, I guess, from the standpoint that you're going to say, yeah, Chuck, I did steal that item. And we're going to say through the county attorney that we're not going to proceed on that in a formal manner, provided you do X, Y, and Z. And then here's when it's going to start, and here's when it's going to end and be over. And when it's end, we won't file on that again. So that'll disappear, be dismissed or whatever. Well, it won't be dismissed because it's never filed. But anyhow, so, but there's language in there that we can't come back a year later because we're mad at you for some other reason and file that charge. So it gives you an opportunity to, make things right. If it's a restorative justice conference, that might be. If it was some kind of fight or assault kind of thing, we may have you meet with the victim and do the restorative conferencing. There may be some restitution you might be required to pay. But once those things and terms and conditions are met, then we report back to the county attorney, and hopefully we don't see you again. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
Real quick,
Councilman
sir.
Canan.
Sir, can you give me an idea why the disparity in funding between Riverton and Lander?
Sure.
Does Riverton have a bigger problem?
Yes. And I'd say it's, 2/3 bigger typically. Like 65% of the cases or thereabouts. So.
Okay. Any other questions?
Mayor,
Yes.
I'd like to say that they're doing a great job.
Thank you. And they are.
Real good job.
Thank you very much for coming this evening,
Okay.
Chuck. We appreciate it. And we're almost on time. Hour and a half.
So Steve will have to send me a note and let me know where the 2,200 went.
We'll find a place for it, I'm sure. Okay.
Thank you.
I see one other soul in the back of the room, Mr. LeBron. Did you have any?
No, I was just going to introduce myself to.
Just visiting.
Yes, that's all.
A candidate that's visiting.
When the council can.
Yes. Okay, the chair would entertain a motion to adjourn the council work session at this time.
Your Honor, I'd make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. We are adjourned.